Captain Zephi pressed his long blue fingers against the control panel as another explosion rocked his ship. The research vessel Serenity's Dawn shuddered under the impact, and warning lights flashed across the bridge. His crew of 12 scientists looked at him with wide eyes that reflected pure terror. "Captain, the third escort ship just went dark," reported his communications officer. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "That leaves only us." Zephi stared at the main screen showing space around them. 3 of his escort vessels were now nothing but glowing debris. The attackers moved through the wreckage like hungry predators. Their ships looked wrong somehow. They were not built from metal and circuits like normal vessels. Instead, they seemed alive with pulsing veins of dark material running along their hulls. The largest one was twice the size of his research ship, and it was heading straight for them. "What are they?" whispered Dr. Yolandra from her science station. She had been studying alien plant life just hours ago. Now she watched death approach on her sensors. "The locals call them void hunters," Zephi replied. "We thought they were just stories, legends told by frightened traders." Another blast hit their ship. This time the lights went out for several seconds before emergency power kicked in. The artificial gravity flickered and everyone grabbed onto something solid. When the lights returned, Zephi could see real panic on his crew's faces. The void hunters had appeared from nowhere 3 hours ago. Zephi had been conducting routine surveys of this outer rim system when his long-range sensors detected the massive ships. At first he thought they might be derelicts or space stations. Then they started moving toward his small fleet. His escort ships had brave crews, but their weapons seemed useless against the attackers. Energy beams that should have torn through any hull simply vanished when they hit the strange organic armor. Plasma bursts that could melt asteroids were absorbed like water into dry ground. The escort ships kept firing until the void hunters reached them. Then the screaming started over the radio. "Captain, their boarding pods are attaching to our hull," reported his security chief. "They are cutting through the outer layers." Zephi looked around his bridge. These were scientists and researchers, not soldiers. They had never been in a real fight. Most of them had never even seen violence except in historical records. His own people, the Altarians, had not fought a war in over 1,000 years. "Send a distress call on all frequencies," he ordered. "Full emergency broadcast." His communications officer's hands moved quickly over her controls. "What should I say, Captain?" "Tell them we are under attack by unknown hostiles. Give our coordinates. Tell them we have civilians aboard." He paused and thought about what else might help. "Tell them the attackers are consuming our ships." The message went out across space at faster than light speed. It would reach the nearest Galactic Council worlds in a few hours. Maybe someone would send help. Maybe the Council fleet could arrive in time. Zephi tried to stay hopeful, but he had seen what these creatures did to military vessels. The void hunters were not just destroying ships. They were feeding on them. Their strange organic hulls would extend tendrils that wrapped around disabled vessels. Then they would drain every bit of energy from the ship's systems. Power cores, life support, even the emergency batteries. Everything was consumed until only empty metal shells remained floating in space. "Captain, they are through the outer hull," his security chief reported. "I can hear them moving in the cargo sections." Strange noises echoed through the ship. It sounded like metal being torn apart, but also like something alive was doing the tearing. Wet sounds mixed with the screech of rending steel. The emergency lights flickered again, and Zephi realized the creatures were draining their power systems from inside the ship. His crew looked at him with desperate hope in their eyes. They expected him to have answers. They expected him to save them. But Zephi had no weapons that could hurt these things. His ship was designed for research, not combat. Even his escort vessels with their military-grade weapons had been useless. "Sir, I am receiving acknowledgement signals from several council worlds," his communications officer reported. "The Centauri Federation says they will consider sending aid. The synthetic collective is analyzing the threat level." Zephi felt his heart sink. Consider sending aid meant they would discuss it in committee. Analyzing the threat level meant they would run computer simulations for days. His crew would be dead long before any help arrived from the major council powers. "Any responses from closer systems?" he asked. "Nothing from military sources, sir." but I am getting an odd signal from a system on the edge of Council space. The signal is very strong. What system? According to the charts, it is listed as System Sol. The inhabitants call their world Earth. It is classified as a dangerous death world. HFY had heard of death worlds. They were planets where the environment was so hostile that most galactic species could not survive there. The creatures that evolved on such worlds were usually considered extremely dangerous. Most Council members avoided contact with death world species when possible. What does their message say? He asked. His communications officer looked confused as she read her screen. They say they received our distress call. They are asking for more details about our situation. They want to know how many civilians we have aboard. Before HFY could respond, another massive impact shook the ship. This time, several console screens went dark and stayed dark. Emergency klaxons began wailing throughout the vessel. His engineering officer reported that main power was down to 30% and falling fast. Captain, the creatures are in the main corridor now, his security chief said. They are moving toward the bridge. HFY looked at his crew one more time, these good people who had dedicated their lives to peaceful research and exploration. They did not deserve to die like this. He opened the communication channel to the distant Earth system. This is Captain HFY of the research vessel Serenity's Dawn, he said. We are under attack by hostiles that consume energy. Our weapons cannot harm them. We have 12 civilians aboard. Please send any assistance you can. The response came back faster than he expected. The voice was strange, speaking Galactic Standard with an odd accent he had never heard before. Captain HFY, this is Commander Morrison of Earth Defense Command. We have received your distress call. Help is on the way. How long can you hold out? I do not know, HFY replied honestly. They are inside our ship now. Understood. The EDS Retribution is departing Earth orbit now. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. Try to stay alive until then. 18 hours seemed impossible, but something in the human commander's voice gave HFY hope. These death world creatures were sending help when no one else would. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDS Retribution as her ship jumped through hyperspace toward the alien distress call. She watched the swirling lights of folded space through the main view screen while her crew prepared for whatever they might find at their destination. 18 hours to target, reported Lieutenant Amy Peterson from the navigation station. All systems running green, Captain. Rodriguez nodded and turned to study the information they had about the aliens who had called for help. Dr. Ben Carter sat at a science console reviewing everything Earth's databases contained about the Galactic Council and its member species. It was not very much since humans had only made contact with galactic civilization 1 year ago. What do we know about these Altarians? Rodriguez asked. Dr. Carter looked up from his screen. They are a peaceful species from the inner rim worlds, very advanced technology but no military tradition. They have been part of the Galactic Council for over 2,000 years. Their ships are designed for research and exploration, not combat. And these void hunters that are attacking them? Nothing in our databases, Captain. This is the first time anyone has mentioned them to human authorities. The message suggested they consume energy somehow, but we have no details about their technology or capabilities. Lieutenant Commander Ryan O'Brien stood at the tactical station checking weapon systems. He was a tall man with steady hands who had designed many of the Retribution's combat systems himself. Rodriguez trusted his judgment about military matters more than anyone else on her ship. What is our combat readiness, Ryan? She asked. All weapons online and ready, Captain. Railguns loaded with tungsten penetrators. Point defense systems have full ammunition loads. Missile tubes are loaded with kinetic kill vehicles. If something needs to be destroyed, we can destroy it. Rodriguez smiled at her tactical officer's confidence. The Retribution was humanity's newest warship and carried the most advanced weapons Earth could build. Unlike most galactic civilizations, humans had never developed energy-based weapons for space combat. They preferred to throw very hard objects at very high speeds. The ship's chief medical officer, Dr. Patricia Hayes, entered the bridge carrying a portable medical kit. She was preparing for the possibility of treating injured aliens with unknown biology. Captain, I have been studying Altarian physiology from the Council databases, she reported. Their basic biology is similar enough to humans that I should be able to provide emergency medical care if needed. Good thinking, Doctor. We may have casualties to treat when we arrive. Communications specialist Kate Williams turned from her station with a concerned expression. Captain, I am monitoring Galactic Council military frequencies. There are reports of similar attacks happening across this entire sector of space, multiple distress calls from different species. Rodriguez felt a cold feeling in her stomach. If these void hunters were attacking multiple systems at once, this might be more than just a rescue mission. This could be the beginning of a war. Any response from Council forces? She asked. Negative, Captain. Most military units are reporting they cannot engage effectively. The few ships that have tried to fight these void hunters have been destroyed or forced to retreat. Dr. Carter looked up from his research with a puzzled expression. Captain, I have been reviewing the technical reports from the failed engagements. Every ship that fought these creatures used energy-based weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, laser arrays, all standard galactic military technology. And they were all ineffective? More than ineffective. According to these reports, the energy weapons seemed to make the Void Hunter ships stronger somehow, like they were feeding on the attacks. Lieutenant Commander O'Brien laughed grimly from his station. Lucky for us, we never figured out how to build those fancy energy weapons. Good old kinetic kill should work just fine. Rodriguez hoped he was right. Human military doctrine was based on the simple idea that if you hit something hard enough and fast enough, it would break. This approach had served them well in conflicts on Earth and in the early days of space exploration. Captain, we are receiving another transmission from the alien ship, reported Kate Williams. They sound desperate. Put it through. The voice of Captain HFY came through the speakers with obvious strain. EDS Retribution, this is Serenity's dawn. The creatures have breached our main hull. They are draining our power systems. We have maybe 6 hours of life support remaining. Rodriguez grabbed the communication microphone. Captain HFY, this is Captain Rodriguez. We are pushing our engines beyond safe limits to reach you faster. Can you tell us anything about the attackers that might help us fight them? Our weapons do not harm them at all, came the reply. Energy beams just disappear when they hit their hulls. The creatures seem to be part machine and part living organism. They attach to ships and drain all power, including life support and emergency systems. Dr. Carter was taking notes rapidly. Captain, ask him about the size and number of enemy vessels. How many ships are attacking you? Rodriguez asked. We count 5 large vessels and many smaller ones. The largest is approximately 400 meters long. They move unlike any ships we have seen before, more like swimming than flying. Lieutenant Commander O'Brien was already running calculations on his tactical computer. Captain, 5 ships is manageable if our weapons are effective, but if kinetic rounds don't work either, we could be in serious trouble. We will deal with that problem when we get there, Rodriguez replied. Right now our job is to reach those people before they die. Dr. Patricia Hayes checked her medical supplies one more time. Captain, I recommend we prepare the cargo bay as an emergency medical facility. If we are rescuing survivors, they may need immediate treatment. Make it happen, Doctor. The Retribution continued its journey through hyperspace, while the crew prepared for their first real combat against an unknown alien threat. Rodriguez studied every piece of information they had about galactic technology and military tactics. Most of it seemed useless against an enemy that fed on energy weapons. Captain, we will be dropping out of hyperspace in 1 hour, reported Lieutenant Peterson. All systems ready for immediate combat operations. Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These were good people who had volunteered to risk their lives for aliens they had never met. Dr. Carter was still studying biological data. Lieutenant Commander O'Brien was checking weapon targeting systems. Kate Williams monitored communications for any updates from the battle zone. All hands, this is the captain, Rodriguez announced over the ship's intercom. We are approaching a combat situation against an unknown enemy. Our mission is to rescue civilians under attack. We don't know what we will face when we arrive, but we know why we are going. When people call for help, we answer. That is what makes us human, She closed the intercom and settled into her command chair. In 1 hour, they would find out if human weapons could succeed where galactic technology had failed. The EDS Retribution dropped out of hyperspace, and Captain Rodriguez immediately saw the battle zone spread across her main screen. Pieces of destroyed alien ships floated in the darkness, while 5 massive organic vessels moved between the wreckage, like sharks feeding on dead fish. The largest creature ship was wrapped around what looked like the research vessel that had sent the distress call. "Jesus Christ," whispered Lieutenant Peterson from her navigation station. "Those things are huge." The Void Hunter ships looked nothing like any vessel Rodriguez had ever seen. They were dark and curved with pulsing veins running along their hulls that glowed with sickly green light. Tentacle-like appendages extended from their sides to grab onto the debris of destroyed ships. As Rodriguez watched, one of the smaller creature ships began to glow brighter as it drained energy from a piece of wreckage. "Captain, I am reading massive energy signatures from all 5 hostile vessels," reported Dr. Carter from his science station. "They appear to be absorbing power from the destroyed ships." Lieutenant Commander O'Brien was already targeting the enemy vessels with the ship's weapon systems. "Captain, the largest hostile is attached to the alien research ship. If we fire on it, we might hit the survivors." "Can you get a clean shot at the smaller ones?" Rodriguez asked. "Affirmative. 4 targets are clear for engagement." Rodriguez opened communications to the alien ship. "Serenity's Dawn, this is Captain Rodriguez. We have arrived and are engaging the hostiles. Stay low and keep your people away from the outer hull." Captain Zephai's voice came back weak but relieved. "EDS Retribution, thank the stars you are here, but be careful. Our weapons had no effect on them at all." "Copy that," Rodriguez replied. "O'Brien, light them up." The tactical officer's fingers moved across his controls, and the Retribution's main railgun fired its first shot. A tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole accelerated to 20% of light speed and slammed into the nearest Void Hunter ship. The kinetic impact tore through the organic hull like a knife through paper. The creature ship writhed in obvious pain as green fluid sprayed from the massive hole in its side. The pulsing veins along its hull flickered and dimmed as its internal systems tried to cope with the damage. "Direct hit," O'Brien reported with satisfaction. "Target is severely damaged." The wounded Void Hunter tried to turn toward the human ship, but Rodriguez was already ordering evasive maneuvers. "Peterson, keep us moving. Don't let them get a lock on us." The pilot's hands danced over her controls as the Retribution began a complex series of turns and rolls. The massive human warship moved through space like a fighter craft despite its size. The other Void Hunter ships released their grip on the wreckage and began moving toward the new threat. They moved strangely, flowing through space more like swimming sea creatures than flying ships. Rodriguez could see weapon ports opening along their hulls as they prepared to attack. "Incoming energy weapons," warned Dr. Carter. "Multiple plasma streams and particle beams." The alien weapon struck the Retribution's armored hull and immediately began trying to drain the ship's power systems. But human ships were designed differently from galactic vessels. Instead of centralized power cores, they used multiple independent fusion reactors spread throughout the hull. The Void Hunters could not drain them all at once. "Shields holding," reported Chief Engineer Mark Johnson from his station. "Power levels stable. These things can't suck us dry fast enough." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "O'Brien, return fire. All weapons." The Retribution unleashed its full arsenal against the attacking creatures. Railguns fired tungsten penetrators while missile tubes launched kinetic kill vehicles. Point defense systems added streams of depleted uranium rounds to the barrage. The space around the Void Hunter ships filled with high-velocity metal projectiles. The organic hulls of the creature ships had evolved to absorb and redirect energy attacks, but they had no defense against pure kinetic impact. Tungsten rods punched clean through their bodies while missile impacts sent shockwaves through their biological systems. One of the smaller Void Hunters simply came apart under the concentrated fire. "Target destroyed," O'Brien announced. 3 hostiles remaining plus the one attached to the alien ship. The surviving Void Hunters tried a different approach. They spread out and began firing concentrated energy beams at the Retribution's weapon systems. Rodriguez realized they were trying to disable her guns rather than drain the ship's power. They are learning, she said. Peterson, attack pattern Delta, keep our weapons clear. The human ship rolled and spun through space while continuing to fire at the alien creatures. Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos at the Point Defense Station was having the time of her life. Her automated gun systems were shredding the smaller, hunter-killer organisms that the main ships were launching. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, she reported happily. These little ones have no armor at all. Dr. Carter was monitoring the battle from his science station, while also keeping track of the alien research ship. Captain, the large creature attached to Serenity's Dawn is trying to drain their remaining power. I estimate they have maybe 30 minutes of life support left. Rodriguez studied the tactical situation. The largest Void Hunter was using the alien ship as a shield while it fed. If she tried to attack it directly, she might hit the survivors. But if she waited much longer, those survivors would suffocate. O'Brien, can you target the creature's appendages without hitting the research ship? Maybe, Captain, but it will require precise shooting. One mistake and we hit the aliens we came to save. Do it. The tactical officer carefully aimed the ship's secondary railguns at the tentacle-like connections between the largest Void Hunter and the alien research vessel. His first shot severed one of the feeding tubes and green fluid sprayed into space. The creature ship reacted with obvious anger, thrashing against its prey. Good shot, Rodriguez said. Keep cutting it loose. Meanwhile, the other two Void Hunter ships were closing in for a final attack. They had learned that human weapons could hurt them, and they were trying to get close enough to overwhelm the Retribution's defenses. Energy beams lashed out from their weapon ports while smaller organisms swarmed toward the human ship. Chief Santos was working overtime to stop the boarding organisms, while O'Brien targeted the main ships with everything he had. The battle had become a desperate race between human firepower and alien numbers. Captain, the largest creature is breaking away from the alien ship, Dr. Carter reported. It looks angry. Rodriguez looked at her main screen and saw the massive Void Hunter turning toward them. It was easily 4 times the size of her ship, and now it had its full attention focused on the humans who had hurt it so badly. All weapons, target the big one, she ordered. Let's finish this. The massive Void Hunter ship writhed through space toward the Retribution like an angry sea monster. Captain Rodriguez watched its approach on the main screen, while her crew prepared for the final confrontation. The creature was wounded and bleeding. Green fluid from dozens of holes, but it was still very dangerous. All weapons target the big one, Rodriguez ordered. Hit it with everything we have. Lieutenant Commander O'Brien unleashed the full power of the human warship against the approaching monster. Railgun rounds slammed into its organic hull, while missiles exploded against its armored sections. The creature absorbed the punishment and kept coming. Its size allowed it to survive hits that would have destroyed the smaller ships. Direct hits all across its forward section, O'Brien reported. But it's still closing on us. The massive alien ship opened what looked like a mouth along its front edge. Inside, Rodriguez could see rows of metal teeth and glowing energy collectors. The creature was planning to swallow the human ship whole. Peterson, emergency evasive action, Rodriguez shouted. Get us out of its path. Lieutenant Peterson threw the Retribution into a sharp turn that would have crushed a normal crew under the acceleration. But human bodies were built for the high gravity of Earth, and they could handle forces that would kill most galactic species. The ship rolled away from the creature's mouth just as massive jaws snapped shut where they had been. That was too close. Peterson gasped as she brought the ship around for another attack run. Dr. Carter was studying sensor readings from his science station. Captain, that creature is not just trying to eat us. I think it wants to capture our ship intact. The energy readings suggest it can process our technology. Rodriguez felt a chill at that thought. If these Void Hunters could learn from human weapons, they might become unstoppable. The galaxy had survived their attacks so far because weapons were useless against them. But if they adapted to kinetic weapons too, no one would be safe. We cannot let it take this ship, she said firmly. O'Brien, prepare the nuclear option. Her tactical officer looked surprised. Captain, are you sure? At this range, the explosion might damage us too. Better than letting these things learn how to build human weapons, do it. Meanwhile, the alien research ship Serenity's Dawn was drifting free but badly damaged. Captain HFY and his crew watched the battle through their main viewer with amazement and terror. They had never seen anything fight the Void Hunters so effectively. "How are they hurting them?" asked Dr. Yolandra from her science station. "Our most powerful weapons had no effect at all." "They are using kinetic projectiles," HFY replied. "Physical objects moving at high speed. The Void Hunters have no defense against that type of attack. But such weapons are so primitive. How can they be more effective than our advanced energy systems?" HFY watched another human missile tear through a Void Hunter ship. "Perhaps primitive is better sometimes. These humans evolved on a dangerous world. They learned to fight in ways we never imagined." Communication specialist Kate Williams was monitoring multiple channels as distress calls came in from across the sector. "Captain, I am receiving reports of Void Hunter attacks on 7 different systems. The Council fleets are requesting immediate assistance." Rodriguez realized the scope of the crisis was much larger than one rescue mission. If these creatures were attacking throughout this region of space, thousands of innocent lives were at risk. And the galactic military forces were helpless against enemies that fed on their weapons. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha emergency." Within minutes, Admiral Nathan Brooks appeared on the communication screen. He was a stern man with gray hair who had commanded Earth's space forces since first contact with galactic civilization. "Report, Captain Rodriguez," he said simply. "Admiral, we have engaged unknown hostiles called Void Hunters. They appear to be biological ships that feed on energy. Standard galactic weapons are useless against them, but our kinetic systems are highly effective. The attacks are happening across multiple systems, and Council forces cannot stop them." "Admiral." Brooks was quiet for a moment as he considered the implications. "How many enemy ships are we talking about, Captain?" "Unknown total numbers, sir. We have destroyed 4 ships here, but there are reports of attacks throughout this sector. This could be an extinction-level threat to galactic civilization." "Understood. The fleet is already preparing for deployment. EDS Vengeance and EDS Fury will join you within 6 hours. Additional ships will follow as quickly as possible." Rodriguez felt relief wash over her. Help was coming, and Earth would not abandon the galaxy to these monsters. But first she had to finish the fight in front of her. The massive Void Hunter ship was preparing for another attack. This time it extended dozens of smaller appendages toward the Retribution like grasping fingers. Rodriguez realized it was trying to grab and hold her ship while it drained their power. "Peterson, full reverse. O'Brien, target those tentacles." The human ship backed away while point defense systems shredded the grasping appendages. Green fluid sprayed across space as the creature roared in pain and fury. But it kept coming, regenerating new tentacles as fast as the humans could destroy them. "Captain, the nuclear warhead is ready," O'Brien reported. "But I need the target to be stationary for a clean shot." Rodriguez studied the tactical display and made a desperate decision. "Peterson, stop backing up. Hold our position." "Captain?" the pilot asked in confusion. "Trust me. When that thing gets close enough to grab us, we hit it with the nuke at point-blank range." The plan was insane and dangerous, but it was the only way to guarantee destroying the massive creature ship. Rodriguez watched the distance counter drop as the Void Hunter approached. Her crew worked silently at their stations, trusting their captain's judgment even though they all knew they might die in the next few minutes. The creature ship reached out with its tentacles and wrapped them around the Retribution's hull. Rodriguez could feel the ship shudder as the alien appendages tried to find purchase on the armored surface. "Now, O'Brien," she shouted. "Fire everything." The nuclear warhead detonated between the 2 ships in a flash of pure energy that lit up the entire battle zone. The massive Void Hunter ship simply vanished in the explosion, while the Retribution was thrown backward by the shockwave. Emergency lights flickered across the bridge as damage reports came in from all sections. "All stations report," Rodriguez called out when the lights stabilized. "Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, reported Chief Engineer Johnson. But emergency bulkheads are holding. We're still in one piece, Captain." Dr. Carter was studying his sensors with amazement. "The creature ship is completely destroyed, not even debris remaining." Rodriguez looked at her main screen and saw empty space where the monster had been. The other Void Hunter ships were fleeing the system as fast as their organic engines could carry them. Serenity's Dawn, this is Captain Rodriguez. The immediate threat has been eliminated. Are you in need of assistance? 3 weeks later, Admiral Nathan Brooks stood on the bridge of his flagship EDS Thunder, as the largest human fleet ever assembled finished mopping up the last Void Hunter nest in the sector. 12 Earth Defense Navy ships had swept through space, like an unstoppable force, destroying every creature ship they found. Captain Rodriguez watched from the tactical station as the final enemy vessel broke apart under concentrated railgun fire. The Retribution had been repaired and upgraded with new weapons based on what they learned from fighting the Void Hunters. Her crew had become experts at killing the organic ships. That's the last one, Admiral, reported Captain Greg Palmer from the EDS Vengeance. Sector sweep is complete. No more Void Hunter signals detected. Admiral Brooks nodded with satisfaction. The campaign had taken 3 weeks, but they had eliminated every trace of the creatures from this region of space. More importantly, they had rescued over 200 alien ships and thousands of civilians who would have died without human intervention. Dr. Ben Carter had spent those 3 weeks studying captured Void Hunter technology alongside alien scientists from a dozen different species. His research station on the Thunder was filled with biological samples and computer models that revealed the secrets of the enemy ships. Admiral, I have completed my analysis of the Void Hunter biology, Dr. Carter reported. These creatures evolved in a region of space where kinetic weapons were never developed. Their entire defensive system is based on absorbing and redirecting energy attacks, which explains why galactic military forces were helpless against them, Admiral Brooks replied. Exactly. But more importantly, they cannot adapt quickly enough to counter our weapons. Their evolution works over thousands of years, not days or weeks. As long as we keep using kinetic attacks, they will remain vulnerable. Captain HFY stood nearby listening to the human scientists explain their discoveries. His ship had been rescued on the first day of the campaign, and he had stayed with the human fleet ever since. The Altarian captain had become an unofficial ambassador between Earth and the grateful alien species they had saved. Captain HFY, what is the current status of Council response to our assistance? Admiral Brooks asked. Admiral, the Galactic Council has officially requested that Earth become a permanent member with full voting rights, HFY replied. They are also asking if humanity would be willing to establish defense agreements with vulnerable species. Doctor. Yolandra approached from her own research station where she had been working alongside Dr. Carter. The alien scientist had spent weeks learning about human military technology, and she was amazed by what she discovered. Admiral Brooks, your people fight in ways we never imagined possible, she said. The Council military doctrine has focused on energy efficiency and clean weapons for millennia. We forgot that sometimes the simple approach is the most effective. Colonel Mike Davidson joined the conversation from his position overseeing marine operations. His troops had boarded several damaged alien ships to rescue survivors, and he had seen firsthand how grateful the aliens were for human help. Ma'am, the way, I see it. We just did what any decent neighbor would do, he said. When someone calls for help, you help them. That's basic human nature. Captain Helen Cruz arrived from the EDS Fury with her final battle damage report. Her ship had specialized in disrupting Void Hunter biological systems and had been incredibly effective throughout the campaign. Admiral, all ships report minimal damage and full combat readiness, she announced. We are ready for immediate deployment if more threats are detected. Communications Specialist Kate Williams turned from her station with an update on Galactic situation reports. Admiral, I am monitoring Council communications across the galaxy. Applications for defense agreements with Earth have increased by 400% in the past week. Admiral Brooks was not surprised by this development. Word had spread quickly through galactic civilization about the Deathworld species that had saved everyone from the Void Hunters. Many alien governments wanted Earth's protection against future threats. What about our classification in the Council databases? He asked. Changed from dangerous Deathworld species to preferred emergency response partners, Kate replied with a smile. Captain Rodriguez looked up from her tactical display where she had been tracking the movements of Council ships throughout the sector. Admiral, it looks like normal space traffic is resuming in all the systems we cleared. Trade routes that were abandoned during the Void Hunter attacks are opening up again. Lieutenant Commander Ryan O'Brien was reviewing the technical specifications of new weapons his team had developed during the campaign. Admiral, the weapons upgrades we tested are ready for fleet-wide deployment. Our effectiveness against biological targets has improved by 60%. Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos added her report from the Point Defense Systems. Sir, the new ammunition types work perfectly against organic armor. We can stop boarding attempts before they even reach our hulls. Dr. Patricia Hayes had spent the campaign treating injured aliens from dozens of different species. Her medical bay had become a center for developing new techniques for cross-species emergency care. Admiral, I have established medical protocols for treating the 37 species we encountered during this operation, she reported. The information has been shared with Council medical authorities. Admiral Brooks looked around at his officers and crew. These people had volunteered to risk their lives for aliens they had never met. They had fought an unknown enemy in the depths of space and won a complete victory. Most importantly, they had proven that humanity could be trusted with great responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all performed beyond expectations, he announced. We came here to rescue 12 alien scientists. Instead, we eliminated a threat to galactic civilization and saved thousands of lives. Captain Zeph stepped forward with obvious emotion in his large eyes. Admiral, on behalf of all the species you have saved, I want to express our gratitude. When we sent that distress call, we never expected anyone to answer. Most council members had given up on this sector entirely. Captain, you called for help and we came, Admiral Brooks replied simply. That is what neighbors do for each other. Dr. Carter closed his research files and prepared his final report for Earth Command. Admiral, the Void Hunter threat has been eliminated, but there may be other dangers out there that energy weapons cannot handle. The galaxy needs Earth's unique military capabilities. Then we will be ready, Admiral Brooks said. Earth stands ready to defend our galactic neighbors against any threat. Lieutenant Amy Peterson plotted a course back toward human space. Admiral, all ships report ready for return journey. Estimated travel time to Earth is 48 hours. As the human fleet prepared to depart, messages of thanks poured in from alien species across the galaxy. The Deathworlders had proven that sometimes the most dangerous creatures in the universe were the ones most willing to help others. Captain Rodriguez looked out at the stars and knew that humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever. They were no longer the newcomers from a dangerous world. They were the ones others called when the impossible needed to be done. When the distress calls came again, as they surely would, Earth would answer.